Hey all, and welcome back to Pokémon Sword. We have left Motostoke and the Gym Challenge Galar Edition has begun good and proper. Here's a new one of these bastards, Gossifleur. It's grass type. I don't really use grass type, so I'm going to talk about something different instead. The routes in the game. You all know what a route is. It's what connects, the big towns and major populous areas together. But a very interesting trend has emerged over the past few generations. I actually went through, thanks to Bulbapedia, and got a head count of the numbered routes in each game, and the numbers might actually surprise you. I'm going to read these out in order of generation. Kanto had 28, Johto had 20, obviously these were together in Gold, Silver and Crystal. Hoenn had 34, and this is including the underwater stuff. Sinnoh had 30, Unova had 23, Kalos had 22. I believe, because I forgot to include Alola here, it has about 18 or so. Galar
sounds about right.
Galar has 10.
Yeah.
And I was saying to the lads just before we started, I think it's a mark of how speedy the game is. Maybe to its detriment, in fact probably to its detriment, that 17 parts in, roughly 40 minutes apart, I had just beaten the final gym leader and got the last badge.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, the way that I play games right now, I appreciate that. I appreciate games that, get to the point, are quite quick with it, that I can beat in a reasonable amount of time. I think this is probably the shortest time I have spent with a Pokemon game. I think it sat at about 17 hours. My average most of the time had been around 24. So, I appreciate it, but I know that it's definitely not for everybody.
What's your experience with the pacing in Pokemon games been like, Flame? Have you felt this more casualized trend over the past few generations? Because I know you're a big fan of X and Y, and no, I'm not about to shit on you for that, I just want your honest opinion here.
Ultimately, the number of routes itself, that's not really a deciding factor on whether it's paced well or not. It's certainly what you do on the routes, and you could say that some of the early games were a bit padded in that respect, in the fact that sometimes what you would have listed off as like Route 1 and Route 2 were quite often very close to each other and quite short, so yeah. Whether you got two shorter routes next to each other or one longer route that just keeps going from one area to the next, it doesn't really mean much in terms of numbers, but I feel like this game's problem is that the routes, there's not much happens along the way. And the fact that not only that, but there's also 3 snow routes as well, which kind of gets a bit excessive.
I didn't even realise that, but yeah, towards the tail end of the game, everything becomes white and blue, really.
Yeah, and it's you're covering the same ground at that point, so it kind of... The fact that there are 10 routes, ultimately there's maybe 3 or 4 different kinds of routes on there. But yeah, in terms of just the pacing in general, this is a very speed you along kind of Pokemon game, and that, I feel in itself, that's not really a problem. Just where it flags up as an issue to me is that it speeds you past story.
Yeah.
And there are some very offensive sections, which I know we will talk more about when they happen, but they do make it very obvious that there's story going on, but you don't need to worry about that. Just go to the next room.
It's for the adults to take care of. The kids.
Yeah, it does get a little bit patronising sometimes.
The kids have to do the gym challenges. The adults will do the actual Pokemon game, because kids don't want to do Pokemon games. They want to get into raids. They want to get all their friends together and capture Pokemon. By the by, fuck Gigantamax Snorlax. Even with a partner, I couldn't catch that fucking thing.
Yeah, well, at least you didn't rage quit out of a stream because of him. That's one thing.
Oh, really? Do tell.
You know who managed to do that during one of his streams. It was quite amusing.
The dark, casualised lord of Pokemon. I see. I don't think I'm going to be keeping Gossifleur in the party for a while. It's a pity mon. If this was a generation with HMs and whatnot, Gossifleur would be the HM bitch. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, but it looks like the kind who probably wouldn't even have the useful ones. It'd be like the cut, maybe flash kind of HM slave.
I was pretty much about to say that. Gossifleur is very much the cut, flash, HM slave until you get a Bibarel-esque type one, which, to be fair, I don't think there's really a Pokemon in Sword and Shield that really properly fits that mould. Which is definitely, I think, for the better, because, I mean, like, seriously, those HM Slave Pokemons just felt like such a waste.
Oh, man. Again, I can't wait for, the inevitable Gen 4 remakes, especially when we won't have to deal with fucking defog and whatnot.
Oh, yes, thank God, because, yeah, like, HMs were a pain sometimes, but, like, they never felt like them truly egregious until defog became a thing, because at least all the other HMs apart from Flash actually did some damage.
Well, Rock Smash was kind of useless, to be fair.
It could have been a lot worse. I mean, in my head, really, I mostly just think of, Surf and Strength.
Yeah.
And Waterfall and Fly. All of which are pretty excellent moves, no matter what. So, yeah, but I am very glad that it is something that has been wiped out now, finally, because you did just end up with a HM slave, and it was a pointless Pokemon in your team.
See, I'm still not too optimistic that we're going to get Diamond Pearl remakes anytime soon. It just seems like such a outlier from what's going on with Game Freak these days. And yeah, let's talk about the actually kind of cool middle stage for Scorbunny.
Yeah, I have opinions. Number one opinion, what the fuck is this meant to be telling me design-wise? Is it a hoodlum? It's wearing fucking Antifa get-up here, keeps its hands in its pockets at all times. What's going on?
I didn't really get Antifa from it. I got more like the sort of teenager with his hands in his pockets, kind of a bit moody.
That was what I got. I got effectively slightly Chav.
Jesus, my start Pokemon's a ne'er-do-well.
But to be fair, it's like more on the sort of not necessarily Chav, like, because people don't really like Chavs, but more sort of the cool teenager type. Slightly emo, because, covering his face a bit, but sort of closely there. Like, he's going through that phase of thinking, do I like football? I'm not really sure. I want to be a bit edgy. So that when, he finally becomes Cinderace, he's just like, yes, no, this is my game.
Yeah, but I think Raboot's a better design than Cinderace on the whole.
Debatable. I think there are things to say in favour of both, sort of doing what they do. I do think that Cinderace is probably a little bit under-designed, but I think that is something that is an ongoing element with Pokemon the past couple of gens. There have been a number of Pokemon that have just felt really under-designed, and some that felt really over-designed.
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is funny. Its base stats for Raboot come out to 420, which is very nice. The speed stat is the highest one for it. Even in its official artwork, it's depicted as running. If you go into Pokemon Camp, keep an eye out, by the way. It's going to be zooming all over the place. Here's a change. Escape Rope is now a key item. You can use it as many times as you like. Why you would want to, because there's no dungeons big enough in the game to warrant this, I don't know. And also, you'd expect this thing in the background to be a thing you can go and explore as well. It even looks like there's a path that you could easily remove the rope from and go there, but...
Yeah. I mean, that is something that the game does a lot. It shows you something that in pretty much every previous Pokemon game, you would be able to go there and it would be a dungeon of some description. Whether you'd be able to get to it right then and there, different kettle of fish, but you'd be able to go at some point. And yeah, it very much does just sort of go, look at this thing, but you can't go there. Look at this building, it looks quite cool, but you can't go in.
No.
And then, obviously, as we have mentioned, here is this story thing that's happening, but it's not important for you. And I definitely, there was something that I did spot that did come up in reviews quite a bit when the game came out, was that feeling of being left out of things. And I don't think that was the intention going in. I think the intention was, look at this world that feels really lived in, but by not being able to go explore it, it doesn't feel as lived in as previous games. It's one of those things where it feels like they've tried something, but it just did not work.
Yeah, well, on to better things, like Roly-Coly, one of my favourite Gen 8 Pokemon here. Slightly disappointed about its evolutions, but
Yeah.
I got over that a couple of days after when I actually saw them in motion and whatnot. I actually got supremely lucky with this catch here, because as you can see, it has the Steam Engine ability, which boosts the Pokemon's speed, stat drastically if hit by a fire or water type move. As you can see, it's rock type, so, you know, if they try and hit it with, like, I don't know, a bubble beam or something, ka-chow, it just gets faster and faster. And then maybe you combine that with, I don't know, something like Incinerate, which I believe was the speed stat. I may be thinking of Flame Charge. It doesn't matter, I think it gets Flame Charge as well. It's going to be zip-zooming all over the place.
Yeah, although you did give it the laziest nickname imaginable, so you kind of wore off its awesomeness there.
Well, Rocky won't be... Spoilers for the playthrough. It won't be coming with us to the Pokemon League. I'm still sticking to Richie's prescribed list of stuff to use. No water Pokemon in there, sadly, but not really much things that require a water counter.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I found. So, the way that the team that I've given to Tom worked was that obviously we already had Cinderace as a kind of dead cert, because you're not going to not have your starter Pokemon. What crazy person would do that? And then Flame specifically requested that we have, I believe it's Jangmo-o by the time it gets to its final stage. So sort of those two were already set in, and as I believe I've said before, sort of the process that I go with is try and have as much type coverage as possible. So since you have Fire, Dragon and Fighting already in, you then need to try and find other Pokemon that fit into things. So Roly-Coly and its line, while useful in having sort of the Rock type, it's another Fire type, which therefore means it's wasting a slot. So need to go for something else. That's why the dual typing issues about the starters did annoy me slightly, but we've already gone over that, so it's a bit of a waste of time.
Yes, we have. I just love this thing because it's like a rock moto bug, and like I imagine a lot of people, myself included, were expecting it to, I don't know, be like the precursor to trains in the Galar region, and its evolution, Carcol, does take the form of like a minecart. Like you think it would walk around on those stubby legs? No, it does roll on them like wheels and so on, as we'll see in the mine later in this particular part. But the final one just looks like a reskinned Rhyperior, which is kind of a letdown. Its Gigantamax form is slightly cooler, but I think they should have just, like, gone with the train motif and, like, said, oh, Carcoals would attach themselves to this, like, mother Pokemon and, like, transport coal for the humans and so on, and that's where we got the idea for trains from.
Yeah, no, I do think that that would have been a better Pokemon idea, especially considering, you know, the UK is very much known for trains. Like, I'm pretty sure we invented them.
I mean, we had 2 train spotting films, for crying out loud.
It's true. But obviously, I mean, even though our trains are pretty rubbish these days, especially in comparison to the rest of the world, I think we did sort of. I know we took the railway to India, so I'm pretty sure that it is a UK creation, for better or worse. But I do think, yeah, it would have been a better Pokemon idea.
Well, I mean, just because we invent something doesn't mean we're going to be the best at it. HFC was one of the first Let's Players on YouTube, at least on my N-Top64 channel. And I'm not going to sit here telling you how we've beaten the competition in recent years, so...
Hey, we do a wonderful job of letting everyone else look good.
This thing was ready to fuck. It came out ready to attack.
What is the tell for when a Pokemon's about to drop? Because apparently there is one, but to me it looks like it just keeps on shaking.
Honestly, I just keep shaking that tree, and if the berries drop, they drop. If they don't, they don't. I will take what I can get, even if that get is nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah, you get to fight a little squirrel, so there's some satisfaction there, whatever.
Oh man, my day isn't complete if I don't punch a squirrel in the face.
Oh, it's good to have a hobby.
Speaking of the trees, I mean, I think the tactic that I ended up going with is shake the tree until I get sort of around 10 berries in total, and then sort of scarper, because generally that seemed to be a relatively safe number to go for. It was generally about 3 shakes. There was no sort of consistency to it, and sometimes they did turn up, but it worked out okay in the end.
This has been Richie's Tales of the Trees. Thank God it's not another Luigi's Mansion 2 sort of affair. Because, Lord knows, we don't want more Wikipedia reading, do we, Richie?
Hey! Wikipedia readings are perfectly decent version of doing commentary at times. You literally asked us to have Bulbapedia up earlier today.
Oh, well, that was mostly just for me reading notes and whatnot. I love the Postman fucking NPC in this game. I think I had him as my avatar when I went online in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, he is such a great design, and that beard's pretty impressive, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Although I will say, whenever I just see the name Postman, my brain automatically adds in the word Pat.
Well, I mean,
afterwards. And then my brain just goes Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and it's black and white cat. And I just can't stop.
I'm going to throw your package into the River Trent, you cunt.
I'm not even going to knock, I'm just going to put the little card through.
They don't even get out of the car. Sorry, we missed you. What? I can see you. You're lying. You're lying before you even pulled up. You whatever. I'm gonna camp with this person. I'm gonna go camp in the middle of nowhere so I can stop being mad and whatnot.
No, you can't, because you got to think back to one of my favourite bits of wording that they use is when they say an attempted delivery. Like, they tried. It was a really tough job and it beat them today. They couldn't get quite to your front door.
Well, maybe they left the package with Becca. Let's have a look here. I better look at Pokemon Camp this time, because I didn't really show it off all that well. It won't pop up much throughout the playthrough, but wow, there are some races going on here. Keep an eye on Rabu. He is about to, like, sprint off, the likes of which hasn't been seen since Sonic of 2006.
Hey! Now, something that actually I don't think we've brought up, but is something that's useful to bring up, is actually, I don't know whether it's just the wild area or not, but sometimes when you're in Pokemon Camp, random Pokemon will actually come up to you and ask to join your team.
That's very true, actually.
Is adorable, and I kind of love that that's a thing, because one of the elements from the anime that has always been well loved but never really featured in the games are Pokemon that sort of actively want to join your team, that you don't just sort of catch. They sort of see you and like you and want to be with you.
Oh.
And that's just a really cute thing, and it's nice that they found a way of allowing that into the game, and I do definitely appreciate that, even if, you know, it never happened to me and I'm forever alone.
Yeah, moving past that. Lots of cherry berries here. Let's see what Becca chooses to cook. I didn't get to choose the ingredient this time.
What I do like about some of these camps that you encounter in the overworld on the routes and whatnot is that sometimes they do have a theme as to what kind of Pokemon that the trainer you camp with likes.
Yeah.
And there's one great one I found where it is just a cat lady who's got 6 Meowth. And that is kind of amusing because she has all 3 different kinds of Meowth on her team. She has like a Kanto, a Galarian one, and a Alolan one.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, yeah, I did get a bit distracted there just playing with the cats.
Oh, that's cute. I did find one somewhat similar, but it was mostly, like, I think it was a Pokemon breeder and they had, like, baby Pokemon, but that was about it.
Oh, yeah. I know there's a policeman who has loads of doggo Pokemon on one of the snow routes as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's also a camp which has all the evolutions in it.
Oh, yeah, I think I might have seen that one, actually, yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact that I stopped at every single camp because, you know, I was that type of person. But it's also quite cool because sometimes there are other trainers at the camp.
Ooh.
And, yeah, this is one of those things where I look at it and just go, I wish I liked curry, but I don't.
Dude, it's fucking burger steak with, like, some rice and a little bit of sauce on it. You will eat this shit. You will like it.
Well, I won't, because it's spicy.
Okay.
Well, you're fucking told.
Speaking of Wobbuffet, by the way, I learnt the origin of why he does that thing with his hand the other day. I'm going to see if I can find it in my my tweets over here, but it was very interesting. It's based on a Japanese comedian who would do the same kind of hand motion in his act.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that Twitter account that you have got that from, it's a guy who sort of does a bunch of videos as well. He's gotten some, well, I should say they, I don't know who they are, but they've gotten some really amazing behind-the-scenes info about the creation of Pokemon and like some of the demo creatures. Like there's evidence of a pre-evolution to Ponyta. There's evidence of sort of like, well, there's a story about there being a cuteness director of some description who would look at Pokemon and go, no, you need to make it cuter. And then also there's the story of why Pikachu is rare in Viridian Forest is because sort of the guy liked Pikachu so much that it was just like, I don't want people to have him, so I'm going to make him rare to find. And obviously that just made him more sought after, and then he became the mascot.
Bless.
And it's just all things like that, and you just look at it and you just go, oh my god, this is amazing.
Alright, so, Wobbuffet origins. I'm going to read verbatim here. Wobbuffet is a homage to Japanese comedian Hayashia Sanpai, who exclaims his iconic catchphrase, "That's the way it is, ma'am," with his hand on his forehead. Wobbuffet makes the same gesture, and Wobbuffet's Japanese name, Sonans, means "that's the way it is."
That's amazing. Also, we should probably give the person credit. What's their Twitter handle?
Dr. Lava YT is their Twitter handle.
That's the one. I knew it had a doctor in it, I just couldn't remember what the rest of it was.
That's the way it is, ma'am.
I do love Wobbuffet as a design, though. He's one of my favourite Gen 2 Pokemon.
Oh, well, thank you for the useless personal opinion flame where we're spying out trivia and whatnot.
Well, I'm sorry, but I want to give a shout out to Wobbuffet because he's a bro. Even if he's not the best assistant with stealth.
He's not real, Flame. He's not real.
So?
But why not?
He's real in my brain. He's my friend.
Okay, we're getting down into realms of sadness that I don't need at like 7 o'clock in the evening, okay? I got over my usual mid-afternoon depression. I'm kind of on a high right now.
Well, that is definitely good, because we had a couple of... which is like, let's do commentary today. No. Commentary today. No.
Look, anxiety don't give a shit if you're ready to fuck, alright? It will fuck you senseless.
Okay, anxiety I couldn't give a pass to. The oops, I had too many meatballs. That not so much.
Okay, the first day I overate a dinner, and I was like just lethargic as fuck. The second day is when anxiety kicked my ass.
Yeah, see, like, when it's actually a health thing, I can think, okay, fair enough. But no, just Tom got a bit greedy that night.
Yeah, true. I deserve that one.
But it's fine, because we're finally here and having a wonderful time walking through a straight line, as they say.
Yeah, that's the thing with the routes in Galar. A lot of them are kind of bereft of originality and, winding paths and so on. There's a couple of routes that are neat and stand out. One of them is just before Circhester, I believe, the Ice and Rock Gym town.
Yes.
But otherwise, just kind of simple for the most part. There's a few standout areas in the game besides the routes. We're getting to one of them now. Short and sweet. This really should have been longer than it actually is, but that's the game in general for you, I suppose.
Definitely. I mean, basically, so it is just the complete lack of dungeons.
Yeah.
Because previous Pokemon games have always had areas where there's been a puzzle of some description. You've got to really sort of work your way to get through it. And that doesn't exist here at all. And in some ways I do appreciate that, because it means, you can get through it quicker, and, when time's precious, that's a thing, but it does make it feel like something's missing.
I felt this a lot during Gen 7, actually, but at the time I was like, oh, this is kind of refreshing. I don't have to do another block pushing puzzle. But towards the end of the game I was like, oh, there's no puzzles at all here.
I think that is sort of the thing of you sort of go, this is nice. Oh wait, there's nothing here. Because we've had sort of all that in the past. Pokemon's been a game pretty much there's been one every single year for the past 20 odd blooming years. It's ridiculous.
Thanks, Pokemon Company.
Yeah. And they've mostly been all really enjoyable. I mean, they still are. But there is that whole thing of you play enough, and so when something's different, it's refreshing, but then you realise, oh, actually, the thing that they used to do was better.
Yeah, see, what I kind of get with this is that, like, yeah, these dungeons are very short, and the direct line through being very short, that I'm okay with. The problem is that along the line, with most dungeons, there tends to be a sense of, like, oh, you can go off on this other side route, there might be an item, there might be another trainer, and there's only actually one in this dungeon that I recall.
Yeah.
Whereas if you compare that to, like, say, Mount Moon from Gen 1, where, like, there was a very basic route you could go through, and you wouldn't have to fight many trainers, and it'd be pretty easy. But then there were also, like, other floors you could go to, and there'd be items, and there'd be optional battles, and you could find some other types of Pokemon on certain floors. Like, that's just not present in any of this game's dungeons.
No, not really. I can remember getting lost in Mount Moon, actually, because it is a big frigga and has very wide open floors. Granted, you can't really hide the space of the place here because it's in 3D now. It's not, isometric over the top and so on. And while you can't move the camera, the overall space is that much smaller as a result. And I will correct you slightly, Flame. There's like two optional areas here. One is the way we're going. There'll be another split in the path coming up. You are absolutely right that the previous game's dungeons were just that. They were dungeons. You had to work through them. These are more like a scenic tour than anything.
Yeah, they're just sort of a change of scenery as you go. And yeah, it's like, it's not bad. It's just they've done it better in the past. And I think that's a lot of what is the case with Sword and Shield. This is still better than a lot of other games out there. Like, Pokemon I don't think has ever really had a truly god-awful game. In the mainline series anyway, there's probably a couple in the spin-offs, but they just don't always shine as much as they could do.
I suppose, like, one of these things is that because there have been such a degree of consistency over the years, when it does start to look like they're slacking in certain areas, it is a bit of a flag. I think that's why the reception to this was so bad on the lead up to it, because it's like, people have been they've got used to Pokemon being a solid, if not the most ambitious franchise in the world, but now it's like all the flaws that have been slowly building up over the last few gens have kind of come to a head, and like the lackluster dungeons, that is just one element of it, and it's just another thing for people to point to and go like, yeah, it's not as strong as it should be.
Yeah, and I find people, they play the cynical act up. I don't know, maybe they're just doing it for attention or whatever, or maybe they just are that cynical. But I find people will most often be grateful and express gratitude if you give them what they want. And when you slowly start to strip things away, you will gradually erode goodwill. And
yes.
It's like, oh, okay, why am I making excuses for this anymore? You're just not giving me what I want, so why should I defend your, development decisions and so on? And here's the thing, X and Y came out in... I'm trying to do basic math here. October 2013, so just under 7 years or so. And, there's been 2 3D generations before this one, so maybe you could push the bow out a little bit more. Maybe don't make it a yearly installment. Maybe use that time to, I don't know, make a better, fully fleshed out RPG. Because, I'm fine with Pokemon being Babby's first RPG. there's a lot more you could do than what's going on here. And I like Sword and Shield a fair bit. I'm probably more lenient on it than a lot of people out there. But even I can see it's a very simple game, and oftentimes, again, to the game's detriment, because, like, you will want something to be there, but it's just not. It's like, oh, what's over in the horizon? Oh, it's just another patch of grass. That's it.
See, what I'm curious about with this sort of stuff is how much of this is going to be developed upon in the next release, which, let's be real here, these games are getting an upgraded version this year. That's just what they're setting up for.
That's what they said in the X and Y generation, mate, but Z never came.
Yeah, I know, but like it's such an easy thing here. If you think, like, they did it with Sun and Moon, and they gave some actually arguably lesser re-releases with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't like Ultra Sun all that much in hindsight at all. I think it ruined a good part of what made it charming, i.e. the story. I will say Sun and Moon objectively has a much better story, insofar as much like it's there. There is an actual story there. And I think Sword and Shield beat it out in terms of characters. Just barely. Like, there's no Guzma bro of all generations tier characters in this game, but I like Hop's arc. Marnie's whatever. Bede's a bit of a cook, but he's an enjoyable character all the same. And you know, as I speak, I'm just giving Gen 7 more and more props inadvertently. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm just going to say, what a video game this is. It is certainly a game.
With the whole Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon thing, I feel like that missed the trick by just having so much of the new stuff be right at the end. So it's like, you know, if it were a case where consistently from island to island there was something that was significantly different, not just have a couple of like characters pop up and maybe give you one or two extra battles here and there, but like something played out drastically different on each island or each trial, then it might be worth double dipping, but it just wasn't.
No.
It's like the bonus stuff was just like the ending was different, and there was some post game stuff which ultimately you can just look that shit up on YouTube. It's not really worth replaying like about 15-20 hours of stuff you've already played just to get to it, I don't think.
No. Also, what the fuck? The Mario, like, Goomba-esque head. I don't understand.
That's Golem's head.
No, it's not. Golem looks a lot less derpy. Trust me, go look it up sometime.
No, so it's Golem's head, and, well, with sort of some tweaks made to the mouth, and it is sort of also Golem's eyes, but it's the eyes are a lot larger and sort of go up a lot more, and also it looks like they're closer together, so they're not sitting the same as they would do on Golem, and that's why it looks derpy.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just keep it with, like, one giant red eye, because it still has the red eye when it does attacks and whatnot, but Roly-Poly is like this, as you can see here, all the time, and it just fits the design a lot better. It looks more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know what happened with Carcol. It's like two people designed like Roly-Poly and Carcol respectively.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like that. I've noticed sort of we're very flip-floppy this particular episode. It's quite funny, but no, I do definitely agree. Like, the designs don't follow through, and to be fair, that is probably the case for a few of the Sword and Shield lines. Like, there are certain like really good designs, and then they just sort of go off the rails. Like, I do actually really like Gossifleur's design.
Fuck off, Stealth Rock, you're shit to me.
So yeah, I do quite like Gossifleur's design, but I'm not a fan of Eldegoss.
I love Eldegoss, actually. I'm the other way around.
So yeah, but either way, sort of, there's still the flow through doesn't quite match up. Whereas in previous generations, like, what has generally happened is you've got a Pokemon line, and most of the time you like all of the stages within it. Whereas I feel like there's more sort of flips and flops in Sword and Shield. Like, Squovet's great, but Greedent's, and oh look, it's him.
I love Devilman Crybaby, especially when it's in my Pokemon games. By the by, Volk and I have done a commentary on every single episode of Devilman Crybaby, so you can go check that out. Ah, yes, I love shelling, especially nearly half 7 in the evening. Whatever. Here's our state-mandated prick rival for the game. He will peter out about midway through and then just disappear. But for the time being, he is entertaining and I like him. He seems to want to kick our ass. I'm not going to have any of that, good sir. It's battle time.
Especially when you're a single type trainer, so if you got a dark type, you can wipe the floor with this guy.
So yeah, Bede. I would imagine his name is derived from beat, food naming and so on. But as Flame says, he is for the time being a psychic type user. So you got anything with like dark or bug and bada bing bada boom, he's going to be packing out of this room before you can say type advantage.
Yeah. Also, you say something to do with beat. It's not actually. So, I don't know whether this is exactly where it came from, but it's a very important thing in terms of British history. So, Bede was an English Benedictine monk at the monastery of St. Peter. And basically lived in land which ultimately became present-day Sunderland. Which is pretty awesome. And his most famous work is the Ecclesiastical History of the English People. And so that gained him the title of the Father of English History. And most of the sort of history that we know originates in some form in Bede's text, which was AD 731.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to post a picture to you guys in Discord here. I want you to tell me what colour it is.
That is purple.
Yes? It's a fucking beet. He's wearing the same colour as the beet, for God's sake.
And by beet you mean beetroot.
Fuck off, you pedantic wank stain.
Yeah, where do we go from that?
Yeah, I don't really know where we go from that either.
Oh, look at this Kirby enemy right here. It's adorable.
I know. I do really quite like the Hatena Hatterene line. It's just that, and I was gonna actually try and use them in my team because fairy psychic type, that's pretty cool. But it didn't fit into the vibe, largely because I wanted a Mr. Rhyme.
Yeah, fair dues.
Then also, I really liked Grimstar, so it was just like, well, there goes any need I have for that line.
Yeah, Tom just compared this guy to Kirby, and now I'm just thinking of a Hatena with the realistic human feet fan art trend that's going on.
No, don't like it. No, get out of my head. Thank you.
It's fine. I'll just randomly send you one of them pictures when you're not expecting it.
I'm weighing the over/under on how badly HFC will fail if I kick Flame out.
Well, there's only one way to find out. I could do a nap.
I don't know whether that was another passive-aggressive shot aimed at me or not.
It wasn't meant as one, but can I retroactively claim it was?
No, fuck you. This Pokemon makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, as it should do. Because obviously it goes for the Lolita element, and obviously it's like the whole young girl look, and
You don't need to explain what it is, Richie. I think we all know what it means.
I don't. Explain it.
This is the start of a recording session. I don't need you starting this strong, alright? Oh, one more. One more and the lolly disgrace will be gone from our screens.
Do you realise there's a difference between Lolita as in the look and the fashion design compared to, right?
I'm aware of this, but the thing's fucking tickling me, okay? It doesn't know the value of personal space and boundaries. Whatever, it's done. Also, Bede over there just kept popping in and out, using instant translocation.
Well, that's the thing that all the trainers do. It's kind of it feels like the camera's in the wrong place sometimes, because that seems like the sort of thing that you would intentionally cut the camera away to not show the model quirks, except it catches it.
Weird. Yeah, whatever. His Rolex was like, it's far too big for his stick-like arms and so on. Sorry, I had a momentary breakdown there where I couldn't use descriptors correctly to describe how thin he is.
Yeah, he's a bit lanky, I say, as someone who's also a bit lanky.
Alright, Jesus, why don't you get back on your cross already?
Like I said, I could do run that.
Well, I'll see you in 3 days, I suppose. So, that was Bede, that was Route 3, that was the Galarian Mines, and this right here, this is a bag of Stardust. I'm going to sell this. Maybe next time, though, because this part's over. We'll see you next time, after I do my famous Charizard pose. And yeah, bye-bye for now.